To the Country Telegraph, nice to have your company. It's a Monday. We've had so much fun on the weekend. In fact, in Queensland, it's still a public holiday today and I have to work. But what can I say? It just means that I'm very, very diligent and I'm working very hard, but we have a great program lined up. I'm very excited with our next guest. But first of all, to see what's happening around Australia that's making headlines for regional, rural and outback regions of Australia. Regional Victorians face the highest network charges in the state while being forced to host vast new renewable energy zones and a massive 550 kilovolt transmission line. Now, the analysis of the Australian Energy Regulator 2025-2026 pricing shows country Victorian households paying up to 50% more in network charges on their electricity bills than their counterparts in Melbourne. A2 Milk has recalled 3 batches of infant formula sold in the States after detecting a product called cereulide. That's a toxin that can cause severe sickness and nausea. Victoria's new Indigenous representative body, now wait for this, it will cost taxpayers almost $1 billion over the next decade. That's according to a new report. $1 billion. But it would seem that Victoria, under the current government, doesn't really care much about money. Look at the CFMEU. Farmers have denounced the New South Wales government's downside of a high voltage transmission corridor for the New England Renewable Energy Zone as pure spin and warned community opposition is red hot. Agriculture has been identified as one of the sectors most severely impacted by recent bushfires in Victoria's Strathbogie Shire, according to a submission by the Shire Council to the inquiry into the 2026 summer fires right across Victoria. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to the Country Telegraph, either on YouTube or Rumble, or follow us on Facebook and X. And speaking of Facebook, we are now live on Facebook.
While you're still fast asleep, we're flat out on our feet. We've got to keep this nation on the go. When your working day is through, we've got 12 million things to do, picking up and sorting coast to coast. We're Australia Post. We deliver. We deliver. I love yous, IOUs, handled with cares and teddy bears, lettergrams and faxes, couriers and parcel packs. Yes, we're Australia Post. We deliver. We deliver. Any destination across the world, across the nation, across the world. We're Australia Post. We deliver.
Welcome back to the Country Telegraph. Nice to have your company. I'm Mike Ryan, shortly Michael McCormack. Now, we're shining a light. We just played a commercial then from Australia Post. We deliver. Not anymore. We're shining this light on the loss of rural services today in the electorate of Riverina. The federal member for Riverina is the Honourable Michael McCormack. Now, Michael has lived and worked in the Riverina district all his life. He's raised on family farms at Marrar and Brucedale and was elected as the nation's member for Riverina on the 21st of August 2010. It just seems like yesterday, doesn't it, Michael? Following the 2013 federal election, Michael held many senior roles and portfolios. On February 26, 2018, Michael was elected the 14th leader of the Nationals and was sworn in as Australia's 18th Deputy Prime Minister. On the 16th of March 2026, Michael has been appointed, or was appointed, the Shadow Minister for Water and Shadow Minister for Veterans Affairs. Prior to entering Parliament, Michael began professional life as a journo. Got out of that one quickly and safely. He's also co-founded a media and publishing small business in Wagga Wagga, which he owned and operated in partnership until he was elected to Parliament in 2010. Michael, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you very much, Mike, and I apologise. I'm now joining you from the front seat of my
Mobile
car in Twynham Street near the junction of the Newell and Sturt highways. Very much live television. I was outside. I had it set up on my bonnet and a huge wind came up and I only just caught the iPad. So I do apologise to your viewers, but you've got me live from the front seat of my car.
No, we refer to that because we to hell with the expenses. That's our mobile studio.
Exactly. Well, I spend enough time in it. I do thousands of kilometres literally every week. The electorate stretches from Madong to the southern reaches of Illawarra these days. So it's a massive electorate, the Riverina. But right across the Riverina, Mike, you're right. People demand and expect and deserve services. And in Grenfell, population 3,600 last census, they're now going to look as though they might be without a post office. Now, I know expressions of interest have been sought by Australia Post for that licensed post office at Grenfell, which has been operated by good people for a number of years, but they've decided to give it away. And what we now face is the prospect of not having postal services at Grenfell. Now, that mightn't just seem so bad for some people in cities, but it's not just parcel and letter deliveries. It's also their bank. It's also sometimes that where they pay all their government fees and services and insurances. The post office is the heartbeat of a country community. In a place the size of Grenfell, take away their post office and you take away, in many cases, their ability to have contact with the outside world. I know that might seem extreme, but it is the truth. And in a place where Henry Lawson became famous, his birthplace, simply not good enough. And I do hope that Australia Post pulls out every stop to ensure that postal services can continue at Grenfell.
Can you just, before we get into that, and I think it's disgraceful, by the way, I came from a place in Victoria called Sunraysia. My town had, we had a servo and a mechanic and a store. And then we moved up, we went to a place called Redcliffs, which had a few more shops than that. But, and I
know the area well.
Oh, they're very important. These are sort of like the conduit with the community. Take that away too. Not only does it affect business, it also affects people's lives and that community integration and stuff. But before we get into that, though, what about this fuel crisis, which your no, I won't say buddies, your across the aisle sparring partners. They're doing a very bad job right now, and they've put us into a situation which we shouldn't be in. How's the Bush handling it? How are they handling this? Not just the lack of fuel, the increase in cost, but the big evil thing hanging over their head, saying you may not have any fuel very shortly.
Well, I'm at Narrandera at the moment. Now they're spruiking the fact that they had 34 mils of rain over the weekend, which is fantastic because it has given them some respite from a prolonged dry spell. But they don't have diesel to be able to fill their tanks, to be able to get their tractors and other sowing equipment onto their paddocks to put in the winter crops. And it's sowing season at the moment. Now, the government continues to tell us, Chris Bowen continues to talk up the fact that there is supply in Australia. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has been to Brunei and Malaysia and secured some fuel going forward. Well, that's his job. Good on him for doing that. But Chris Bowen has also tasked Anthea Harris with the job of being the petrol productivity person, the fuel czar, if you like. Well, she's already doing the Water Act review, so she's a busy enough person. I don't doubt her talents, but she's doing Chris Bowen's job as well as hers. The supply might well be there, but the distribution is not. And the accessibility and the availability of fuel, let alone the affordability, is simply cruelling our farmers at the moment. Not only our farmers, but also our transport operators who cart the goods right around Australia. So that's a double whammy for regional Australia, and it's a very bad time to do it because it's sowing season. Now, if they can't get the crops in by the end of the year, when they should be harvesting those winter crops, we're going to have a food security crisis, and a food security crisis equals a national security crisis. So this is a problem, and we have Chris Bowen out there telling the world that, yes, supply is okay. Well, that might all be well and good, but distribution is not. And that is the massive issue in regional Australia at the moment. It's the accessibility to that diesel for our farmers who are sowing their crops, and they can't get their hands on enough diesel to fill their tanks to be able to plant their crops. Simply not good enough.
Tell me, what's the main business? I would imagine it's agriculture, but the main business for Grenfell and its surrounds, because and it is agriculture, but if the fuel crisis keeps going, and not only do you not stock and supply the supermarkets and the stores, what happens is the farmers, the people on the land can't earn a living.
Oh, that's right. And of course, around Grenfell, it's a very good sheep producing area, cattle as well. But they've got wool. The price of wool is actually good at the moment, believe it or not. So they want to make every opportunity. They want to take every opportunity to cash in on some of their hard work, and their hard work involves stock. Their hard work involves planting crops. They can't plant crops, and they can't get around to, at the moment, hand feed their stock because it has been dry. Well, they're left literally high and dry. And, like I say, Chris Bowen keeps telling us the supply's there, but they're talking in silos. They're just simply not listening to hardworking farmers who are the greatest risk takers in the nation, because they plant their crops, they look to the skies, they hope it's going to rain when it needs to, they hope it's going to be dry when it has to be, when they harvest, and yet, all of that means naught if they can't get their crops in the ground in the first place because of a fuel crisis brought about by not their problem, not their fault. Well, it is their problem, but it's not their fault. And we've got a government telling them that supply's okay, and when it's not. And Chris Bowen needs to get out of his ivory tower in Sydney and come out and talk to the farmers, listen to the farmers, see that they've got an issue and do something about that issue. I know he's got Anthea Harris on the job. I know she's a good person, but she's a very busy person because, as I said before, she's also doing the review into the Water Act. So Chris Bowen needs to do his own day job and do it properly.
Yeah, I'm just quite intrigued. How do they do? Because people need to go to a bank or to a post office. What's the nearest post office from Grenfell?
Oh, well, it's a long way away. It's Young, it's Burrawa. It's quite a drive, and these are situations where, yes, they're surrounded by good towns. Cowra, I suppose, as country people would say, is not that far away either. But they need to be able to have access to services that people in the cities just take for granted. It's not easy. And of course, when you've got a fuel crisis, when a lot of these populations are also older populations, so many of them don't have access to be able to drive. That's where it makes it so difficult when aged care centres close in country areas, because their nearest aged care centre is usually 100 kilometres away, and they end up in their twilight years, when they should be enjoying their last few years around family and friends, they get shipped off to places 100 kilometres from home, and then they don't get any visitors with familiar faces. Country centres do it tough. Country people do it tough. And when things, valuable, vital services such as post offices shut, it makes life all the more appreciably difficult.
Coleambally, which I almost moved there once with my family, my father.
Great town, great community.
Yeah, no, we decided to stay Victorian. Sorry about that. We play better football. But anyway.
Well, they still play Aussie rules at Coleambally, don't worry, and their team, the Blues, are going okay this season.
Yeah, but not the Blues in Melbourne, thank God. Now let's get back to the real stuff. Rugby. No, the Coleambally, they've got... Tell us about Coleambally, because the licensed post office is closed in February. And now for mail and very limited services, not BPay, you can't do BPay bill payments, you can't do banking, there's no PO boxes. It's at Maryland's Pharmacy, so you can go there for a headache tablet and do minimal posting.
Yeah, well, it's difficult, and of course you've got Coleambally there, where the school has school population, the enrolments have almost halved because of the Murray-Darling Basin Plan. They've halved since 2015. So the town is doing it tough as it is. The pub, I was in there the other day, and they're going well. They've got a great little coffee shop in town. It's a wonderful community. It's New South Wales' youngest town. It was purpose built in the 1950s for irrigation for farmers and to grow some of the world's best food and fibre, and they do that. But when you start to lose services such as postal services, it just makes it so much difficult because it starts to put the squeeze on the community, a community which is looking to attract business, to attract other people to come to town. And I appreciate that, irrigation farming, the technology that they use and those sorts of things have got bigger and better, and corporate farms sometimes have moved in. So I get that, you don't need as many people on the tools as you once did farming, but still in all, the Murray-Darling Basin Plan has taken a lot of water out of the community. When you take productive water out of a community such as Coleambally, you take kids out of school, you take customers away from the coffee shop, you take customers away from the hairdresser, and the whole town diminishes. And it's simply not good enough. This Murray-Darling Basin Plan, we need a commission of inquiry, and we need to make sure that there are no more buybacks. That's what the coalition policy is. I've put that through shadow cabinet. I was the one who moved the disallowance motion on the Murray-Darling Basin in 2012. I'm only one of two parliamentarians left who voted against the whole plan in the first place. It's been a crock. It's been so difficult on those farmers who grow the world's best food and fibre, and they are, Mike, the world's best environmentalists. At the moment, the Commonwealth Environmental Water Holder has 72% of the available water in the basin. They are the nation's biggest environmental holder, obviously, and the nation's biggest irrigator, but they don't have to account for every drop of water like our farmers do. And at the moment, Coleambally farmers are doing it tough like a lot of others in those river communities.
Why there's a trend at the moment. We saw in the UK with Starmer and the farmers there, and in Australia it's been happening for quite some time. If you listen to a farmer, like my dad would always whinge about government and those in the big smoke didn't know what they were talking about. Probably right too.
Dad was right. Listen to Dad.
We need more like you in the capital city too, by the way. But I'm just thinking though, why it's very aggressive, the approach to farmers farming, their rights, their livelihoods, their heritage. And if you look at Victoria, and there's an election coming up shortly, and I still worry about, by the way, Jess Wilson for the Conservatives, because she's still on that wokey sort of page.
Oh, she's all right. Don't worry about Jess. I had dinner with her the other night. She's all right. She's got some good people around her, and Danny O'Brien and the Nationals will sort of set her straight if ever she strays from the beaten path. No, Jess is all right. I've got a lot of time for Jess.
We'll wait and see on that one. But I'm just thinking, though, if New South Wales, Victoria, WA, other parts, Queensland, sort of mellowing at the moment because of the Conservative Party in power. But why the attack on farming? Why the disregard?
Who would know? I mean, you've got animal activists out there who want to stop farmers from producing the world's best sheep meat and beef and everything else. I mean, the pork. You've got animal activists breaking into farms. They get no more than a slap on the wrist from the magistrates when they get caught. You've got the government wanting to buy back all the water and take away the water out of the consumptive productive pool. It is so tough for our farmers at the moment. And then, of course, they've got the vagaries of the weather. We've had a prolonged dry spell, particularly in southwest New South Wales. Governments haven't been interested in helping them. They've had to hand feed stock, particularly up in the upper Murray area, where they have some of the best Murray greys, and that's where the breed was actually first produced. But so many good Black Angus and Hereford cattle up there, and they've had to hand feed those. It's been so tough, and yet Tara Moriarty in the New South Wales side of things, and Julie Collins in federal, in the agriculture minister there, just haven't been that interested in helping out our farmers for travel subsidies and the other things that they've requested to just help them get by, to make ends meet until the rains come again. Well, we had a little bit of rain on the weekend, but for some it's too little too late. For others it hasn't been enough, and they're looking to the skies for more rain. But it is hard, and we've got city-centric, as you say, governments in there at the moment, both in Macquarie Street, New South Wales, in, of course, Spring Street, Victoria, and in Canberra, it's difficult for our farmers. We've got governments which don't care about the regions. They haven't put the right infrastructure in place. They haven't spent virtually a zack on our roads, which are crumbling and deteriorating. It's simply not good enough. I heard an interesting stat at the weekend at a meeting at Batlow where the Hume Link, the mob putting through the transmission lines through Snowy Valleys Council, drove 293,000 kilometres on those roads. That was the total make-up for just a week. Now, you can imagine how much of an impact that is having on the roads, and yet there's very little money coming out of Canberra and indeed state governments to make sure that we've got proper road maintenance and upgrades. And yet they're expected to get all that volume of traffic in addition to what they already had. It's hard for the local councils to keep maintaining those roads when they're getting such usage, particularly by heavy equipment coming through, putting the transmission lines in to help deliver power to the cities. So it's time Canberra and Melbourne and Sydney started paying a bit more attention to country people and our needs and wants to make sure that we can keep sustaining them as far as energy, food, resources are concerned, and making sure we keep the economy ticking over, because it's actually out here where the action happens to help prop up this nation.
Can I ask you a question? Do you have your tambourine ready and all the other pollies in Canberra? Because I'm just thinking about Snowy 2.0. The blowout is fatal and we're going to have to raise some money or bin it. What do we do?
Well, it's not just Snowy Mountains. Look, I think we need to have a good infrastructure in place. And of course, Snowy Mountains was supposed to be continuing on the hydro scheme that was so successful back when the migrants came out post-war and built what was one of the world's greatest infrastructure pieces. But it's not just Snowy 2.0. It's also the NDIS, which has blown out in the order of billions of dollars. There needs to be a full audit of that. I know Jacinda Nampijinpa-Price is asking for a full audit of Indigenous spending, and that's probably necessary as well. There are so many areas of endeavour where the government needs to rein in. But the trouble is with the NDIS, they'll take it away from the people who most need the service. They're the most vulnerable. They'll still give it to the rent seekers and the grifters and the shysters who've cottoned their way into this system and made sure they're sucking the life out of it, those leeches who are bleeding the system dry. And we're still going to be seeing a lot of money spent on a lot of areas which, quite frankly, need a complete audit, a complete overhaul, but don't expect this mob from Labor to do it.
Yeah, I think they're appalling, and I always try and get down the middle, but I can't do it. They can't do it. They're doing terrible things to the bush right now, and if you destroy the bush or destroy people's lives, it's the flow-on effect too.
It is absolutely. And
And
I mean, the bush was once
Australian
respected. It was once respected. It was once given a lot more credence than it now is. But we've got so many teal voters who wouldn't, quite frankly, know if their backside was on fire, let alone where their food comes from. And unfortunately, they're outnumbering us in those city electorates, which I could throw my handkerchief over. And yet you've got country electorates which are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And they're still expected to support the country the way we did in the past. And you know what? Country people will, because that's what we do.
But what's happening to Australia? Take away the country bit. It's not how Australians should act. It's not how we were.
Yeah.
How do we get back our sense of community?
Well, Warren Truss once told me, the former Nationals leader, that quite often city people would send their kids out to the farms, their cousins in the bush, and they'd have that country experience when they were growing up. That doesn't seem to be happening these days, Mike, and a lot of city kids don't ever get out to see the bush. It's unfortunate because, we need to be better as a nation in these sorts of regards. We need to have more of an appreciation of what actually happens in country areas. But kids don't have the lives that we did, you and I, when we were kids. They don't have that bush experience. They don't have the sort of we're not reared the way we once were. And I mean, I know you start sounding like an old man when this happens, but it is a problem.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. We should do this more often, because I think
I'd love to.
Yeah, and you can. I'll send you the membership details for the St Kilda Football Club.
Ha ha ha! Go the Hawks!
No,
I did hear a good joke the other day. It was a knock-knock joke. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Owen.
Oh, and who?
Oh, when the Saints go marching in.
Well,
Anyway, they're going all right this year, the Saints. Don't worry about that.
in the last two games, we beat the Blues, which is always good to do. If somebody wants to find out more about you, Michael, or have a bit of a chin wag, how do they do that?
Well, they go to michaelmccormack.com.au. They can contact me through my office, and always love to chat to people of good intent, good heart, and who love the bush.
Yeah, Michael, I'll have to buy you a beer when I pass through there.
Sounds good.
Far away. Actually, you'll make me keep to that too, won't you?
Absolutely. Good on you.
Good on you, mate.
Thanks,
This
Mike.
is the Country Telegraph. That's the Honourable Michael McCormack MP. Great guy, and has his finger on the pulse there, especially in the Riverina area and the bush. Coming up next, we'll talk to Pennie Scott here on the Country Telegraph.
Our mantra has always been, we are here to softly promote and softly build up all of the winemakers of the region to say, hang on, what you do is great, what you produce is fantastic, and what we drink is well worthy of anything, anywhere, not just in Australia, but around the world.
I'm planting varieties from Cyprus, which is amazing, and looking at doing other Greek varietals too. So I think by doing this, it's really going to keep our culture strong here in Australia, because obviously we're very far away from Greece.
I then got the opportunity to make wines that I thought were suited to this region, and then put a little bit of finesse in oak treatments, etc., to make them softer and more approachable wines.
It's pretty cool to be able to provide high value wines at those lower price points.
There's certainly quite a few of our varieties that you probably wouldn't find elsewhere in Australia. If you do, it's probably from our grapes.
A Riverland wine is above and beyond what you'll find anywhere else.
You know, the whole objective was to be proud of the region we're from, so Riverland is stamped clearly on the bottle and always will be.
There's a lot of positivity amongst the smaller winemakers, passion and pride in what they're doing. They love to showcase the region. It's a wonderful region.
Yeah, I think, people will be pleasantly surprised by what they get out of Riverina.
Buy Australian made, and you're backing local jobs, a stronger economy, and the way we live right here. Australian made, made right here.
And hello, and great to have you here on the Country Telegraph. I'm Mike Ryan. Coming up next, Pennie Scott. Now, Pennie Scott has been gardening with nature for more than 50 years, growing many of her foods, including raising pigs, dairy cows, ducks, and in extensive vegetable gardens, which we're trying to plant at the moment next to the pool. Well, watering hole anyway. Good luck with that one. Might have to get some tips from Pennie, I think. Now, Pennie's been deeply involved in the organic sector for around 35 years. She joined the Organic Regenerative Investment Cooperative last year, say that 3 times, collaborating with almost 300 organic grain growers across Australia, enabling them to be profitable farmers and engaging with the millions of Australians who want transparency with their food supply systems. First of all, Pennie, while many Australians experience food insecurity, is this going to be a greater concern, do you think, as the ensuing months come along?
It depends on how you look at it, who you talk to, and what each individual is willing to do about it. Now, over the past 30 years, with the rise and rise of the duopoly supermarkets, we've been encouraged to leave it to the market, as they will always find a cheaper and most effective way to bring food. And it's a very profitable way of doing business. And while we do that, we are in their hands. We're completely tied because they choose what is going to be on their supermarket shelves. So if they want to have an imported product which is cheaper than being made in Australia, they'll do that. because they're interested in profits. So we have to take some personal responsibility about how our future can look. And what do you think about making the highest quality food a priority in your life and not giving in to convenience?
Well, I think quality, isn't it funny? After our last conversation, we made a beeline to some very fresh, there weren't markets. Well, it was a market, but it was a commercial market, but it was much, much better. And what we realised, besides it having flavour, which was quite ironical because that's what you're after when you cook, the food actually filled you up. It was denser and better. Whereas you go to the supermarket, I'm not knocking the supermarket here by any stretch, but you go there and you'd buy, and we had bacon, for example, the other day. And normally you'd pay about $7.50 for a couple of lumps of bacon in there, and you throw into the air fryer, which we do because we're trying to be healthy. But it always lacked a bit of flavour, and you're always a bit hungry after it. So this time we had organic bacon. We had organic cage-free or what do they call the roaming-free hen egg thingos? Had those. Had the tomatoes, which roamed free too. They were denser, and some homemade bread. Man, oh man, I have to tell you, one, it didn't cost us any more. Two, it was better for us. We ate less, but enjoyed it more. This is I think, what you're talking about, the discovery of either growing it yourself, popping down to the local fresh market, supporting the local growers, and eating stuff that we used to eat before we started to pump it full of all sorts of stuff.
I'm so thrilled that you and Lynn have had that experience. That is just marvellous. And trying to tell other people can be a bit frustrating because they've got no idea what your flavour buds have been doing, but they've been having a ball. And thank you for describing that extraordinary difference that you have now experienced. And isn't that a thing? It's about experiencing it. And convenience has meant that people just, I'll find something on a recipe sheet, or I'll go and buy something already pre-cooked or pre-peeled, and we'll just warm that up and have it for dinner. And the cost of convenience is such a sneaky way for people to become unwell because they get stuff that's quick, not necessarily nourishing. So food security, insecurity, it depends on how much we want to take personal responsibility and do some research into the brands, do some research into what all those numbers on the back of labels mean, do some research about the country of origin. So until you make this a priority, because we all have the privilege really of eating 3 times a day, what we choose to put into our mouths is up to us. But there's no trustworthiness in the food system at the moment.
How urgent is the education process? Because that's what we're talking about.
Oh, we become frustrated because we find so many examples of fraud and unethical food growing. Even the greenwashing is a multi-squillion dollar business, and people will say anything and get away with it. Why is that so? Because our regulators, those who are supposed to be looking after us in fair trading and consumer law and the ACCC, because they choose not to do their jobs or fulfil their roles. The agency, the Food Safety Australia New Zealand, which is a federal government agency, honestly, what they consider to be safe is contributing to massive cases of non-communicable diseases, all these lifestyle diseases, 90% which are preventable, but because these foods, ultra-high processed foods, are labelled safe, people eat them. You know, the snack food market is massive. Ultra-high processed, I don't call it food, I call it crap, masquerading as food. But people can buy these things at supermarkets, service stations, news agencies, corner stores, even some garages have these snack foods. They just sit there and you all grab one. And it's ultra high processed food. So not only are the ingredients poisonous when you eat them constantly, but they're contributing to chronic diseases the whole time. But the availability of them makes them so easy.
Yeah, it does, and I've fallen for that trap too. But as I said, and we've always known, because I'm from the bush anyway. So my wife's from the bush. We always knew that, we needed to eat better. But you get into a habit, don't you? You have. I mean, here's something that's really odd in our days, and even in many countries around the world, they have that set time to eat, to talk to the family, to find out what happened in the day. What are your thoughts? You spend a bit of time cooking and stuff. I find and most definitely in Australia, that most people off to the supermarket, buy the packaged food, buy something quick, put it on quickly, cook it quickly so it's not done right, and then sit in front of the TV and not communicate. And that's where food and it's like a communication process. And if you go back hundreds of years, this is what drew communities together, was food, family, friends, neighbours, and wasn't that area and that area, it was all part of the same process. Tell us about your organisation, and because you're trying to you're trying to bring a lot of this back, better food, better communication, good value and so forth.
We're actually concerned about the well-being and health of Australians. It's just innate in us, I think. Because we're mothers, we're people from the country, we understand how beautifully food can be grown. And these days, you just got to follow the money. And so there's a wonderful organisation called Slow Food, and it's about the conviviality of sitting down to celebrate. We always have a meal. You think of so many of the social occasions that we enjoy, and it's all around food. It's at a celebratory table. And that convenience and fast food have killed that. So at our peril, because so many of these convenience foods are 50% fat, hydrogenated fats, which are so bad for your body, 50% sugar. The food technicians in these companies are specialising in making these products hyper addictive. Now that's not helping, but when we take the time to, as you did after going to the market, you took the time to find the food. You took the time to sit down to prepare it and then sit down and enjoy it. You made that decision, but so many people don't. And I understand the pressures of life and having children around you and everyone's hungry and you're knackered yourself. You just want to get something in their mouths. But that's at our peril with so many neurodivergent diseases now and many others.
And you'll be pleased to know that I followed that with what I was drinking. I looked for some good grape juice, and the grape juice, I was very, very chirpy about the third glass and enjoying myself apparently far too much. Let's talk about your organisation. Now, it's Organic Regenerative Investment Cooperative, which is ORICoop. Tell us about how it works, and the founder's vision and its ownership and its membership.
About 10, 11, 12 years ago, there were many more certified organic properties and owners, farmers, producing their foods in regenerative systems, which means that life is at the centre. And through non-succession, some of these older farmers decided to retire, that nobody in the family wanted to take them on. However, the collateral, the build-up of the healthy soils over years of growing foods without deadly chemicals and herbicides, insecticides and pesticides, they were likely to be lost. And so then the other owners, chemical farmers, would move in and just completely destroy all this beautiful collateral that had been carefully developed over sometimes decades. And so the Organic Regenerative Investment Cooperative, literally as the name says, was founded to purchase some of these properties so that they weren't lost into the chemical system. And that's been growing ever since then. And we've got so much damage to Australia's soils now through chemical farming. We're just getting more widespread desertification, which means that there's nothing growing there because of the old monoculture competitive paradigm. And this is leading to desertification. And that bare ground in summer, we had such a hot summer. We had a week where it was 10 days where the temperature during the day did not drop below 43 degrees. Now, we measure air temperature, but it's the soil temperature that actually really heats up, or it's dirt temperature by then. And that all lifts off. It adds to the heat in the atmosphere. It changes weather patterns. And so I know I'm getting a bit off topic here, but it's bare ground that causes droughts. So when we look at how organic and regenerative farmers look after their properties, one of the basic practices is 100% living ground cover 100% of the time. Now that reduces the soil temperatures and you actually can attract more rain. The more vegetative mass you have on the ground, then the more likely that these bits going up into the atmosphere, they become the nuclei for raindrops. And if it's an organic matter, as the nuclei of those raindrops, then those drops will form at a lower temperature. But if it's an inorganic substance, like dust, they go up higher and higher into the atmosphere, and it takes longer for that nuclei to have a raindrop gathered around it, and then it's colder. So when we have a hailstorm, think about this the next time. Think about now, where is all that inorganic nuclei material come from? And it'll be bare ground. So if we want to have more rain, fewer dry periods, we have to have more vegetation, living vegetation on the ground all the time.
Your organisation, it's even though it's a new organisation, it's basing itself on old philosophies and ideals and a lot of common sense. If someone wants to be a part of that, if someone would like to, because unless you're different, I think we are always after the investor. If someone wanted to invest in what you were doing and expand this, because it is common sense, it's actually, if you were an accountant, you'd say this is just what we need because we're going to save money down the track because we're being healthy. So what we're doing is we are investing into our future. How does someone become an investor in your organisation?
Oh, well, there's masses of very useful information on our website, which is organicinvestmentcooperative.com.au. And there are options there for investing into properties or investing into the Grain Trust, or there's so much information there. And our food systems this is what you're talking about. So food security, let's feed Australians first. So they're not just things that we can do as a cooperative, but we need to have some government rethinking, and particularly an organisation like the National Farmers Federation, which is not just all about farmers, it's about some very, very, very large corporate sponsors, their partners. So with their bid to have $100 billion worth of agricultural exports every year, oh, good on you for feeding a few people around the world, but let's feed Australians first. Let's have a look at an import replacement scheme where so many of our foods are now imported and we don't have the capacity, sometimes even the skill sets here in Australia anymore, but there is certainly no financial incentive to provide import replacement products. We can do it, but the incentives are not there from the government or the very big agribusiness vested interests.
Again, it's all common sense, but we do need to look after our backyard first, because if we can't look after our own backyard, there's absolutely zero chance we're going to do any good anywhere else. And after all, you know, we should be looking after, it's our family. Look at Australia as a community, it's all family. Look after that first. If somebody wants to, find out where the markets are, how they can get involved, or just more about your organisation, or just have a chat with you, how do they do that?
Look, there are some wonderful sites. The Open Food Network is one to find growers, so you can link directly with growers across Australia, the Open Food Network. There's Sustainable Table, and that's again another national network which has so many records of and contacts for food growers, so you can buy directly from farmers. And then with ORICoop, my email address is orca@organicinvestmentcooperative.com.au, and I'd be thrilled to have a yarn with people.
I'd believe that. Good on you, Pennie Scott. Thank you so much for your time. And we'll do this more often too. This is the Country Telegraph. If you're looking forward to a nice day tomorrow, let me look into my glass of, no, I won't do that, my glass of scotch. I can't tell the future with that. I can't tell anything. Let's look into my cup of tea. We'll visit the Bureau of Meteorology.
Hello, Alana from the Bureau here with your national weather forecast for tomorrow, Tuesday the 5th of May. Let's get started. Now, through the east of the country, we'll see this cold front and trough which has moved through the southeast. That's going to continue through Queensland and New South Wales, bringing some areas of showers and isolated thunderstorms. Further in the southeast, we'll also see a few more showers through Victoria and Tasmania. And elsewhere along these southern coastal areas, we will see a few light isolated showers. However, across the country, we are looking at mostly settled conditions under the influence of this high pressure ridge. We'll even see some areas of morning fog both through the west and the east of the country tomorrow. So let's take a look at each state, and we'll start in Queensland. Through inland parts of the east, we will see some areas of morning fog. Then throughout the day, we'll see a few showers through coastal parts of the southeast and also up towards the north tropical coast. Now further inland, we have this band of showers that's going to continue, possibly with some isolated thunderstorms through parts of this southern interior area. Now to the east of this trough, that's where we're still seeing warmer than average conditions for May, and that includes for Brisbane, which will see 28 degrees tomorrow, partly cloudy, and in the morning we may even see a little bit of fog through western parts. Taking a look into New South Wales tomorrow, which is also seeing the influence of this trough and cold front that will continue to bring some showers and isolated storms through northeast parts of New South Wales. It is, however, very different further south, where it's mostly settled. We could even see some areas of morning frost through elevated parts. So it's going to be sunny and dry through both the south and inland parts of New South Wales tomorrow. Sydney will be sunny with a top of 25 degrees and Canberra a little bit cooler with 18. Through Victoria, we have a few showers lingering through the south here and also up towards the ranges with the passage of this little trough here. Now later in the day, those showers will contract further south. With this generally southwesterly flow, we're looking at cool to mild conditions for Victoria tomorrow. Melbourne will see a top of 18 degrees and a possible shower. However, the shower is most likely through eastern parts and up towards the Dandenongs. In Tasmania, we continue to see this westerly flow. That's bringing showers through western parts of the state, with just some isolated spots of showers elsewhere expected. So for Hobart tomorrow, partly cloudy and a top of 18 degrees. Slightly warmer tomorrow for Launceston with a top of 20. South Australia will see a mostly settled day tomorrow. However, we could still see some showers through the agricultural areas and also about the far southern coast through the west. Now, we're really looking at below average temperatures for all of South Australia tomorrow, following the passage of that cold front that came through on the weekend. So Adelaide won't even reach 20 degrees. We're looking at a top of 19 degrees tomorrow for Adelaide, with a possible morning shower in the area. Through Western Australia, again, we are seeing settled conditions. We'll see some inland fog through southern parts, extending from the Southwest Land Division and all the way to the Eucla area. Now, it's those same areas, but along the coast, where we could see some isolated showers throughout the day. Generally though, again, we're looking mostly settled, as we can see under the influence of this high pressure ridge. So it is looking mostly dry and a lot of sunshine through Western Australia tomorrow. That includes for Perth, which will see a sunny day and a top of 23. Now, up in the Territory, there are a few locations which are trying to cling on to a few little showers here or there, even as we make our way into the dry season. So that includes for the eastern Arnhem, possibly up towards the Tiwis, and maybe even a little bit through southern parts of the Barkly. Elsewhere though, we are looking at a dry day. Once again, it will be hot up top. We have 35 degrees and sunny for Darwin, but it will be cooler down south, 22 degrees tomorrow for Alice Springs. That's all for our national weather forecast. If you'd like some more information, please visit us at the Bureau's website, app or social media. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
And that's it for the Country Telegraph. Nice to have your company, by the way. Tomorrow we'll do it again. Some great guests on, talk about the issues that concern rural, outback and regional Australia. And we need to look after that, because if they are in a bad state, it will follow on that the rest of the country will be down the gurgler. So we need to do the right thing with our people on the land in those remote places around Australia. They are doing an amazing job and they are punching way above their weight. Until tomorrow, have a good one. Be safe, be kind to your neighbours and be kind to yourself.